What we'll do now is go on to a really cool idea that I think is going to jazz up this area very nicely. Okay, so this is actually going to be a little bit of a tough thing to do. And again, I need to have the floor ready for this before I actually do it. Here is the piece that comes with the kit. These are, I think, 4 millimeters across, and the problem with them is that there are air bubbles inside. And yeah, even there you can see this one right in the middle. This one has 2 at this end, and then this one has 2 as well. Now the idea, in the show at least, was that you got this piece goes there like that, this piece goes here like this, and then this is either the bottom or that's the bottom. Either way, what's happening in the show is there's little bolts of electricity shooting up and down in here, and having air bubbles in this just really doesn't look good at all. And what I realized is that Paul over at the FiberOpticStore.com has what's called side-firing fiber optics. This stuff is completely clear, it's fiber optic, so there are no air bubbles in it. And when you put light through it, not only does it come out the far end, it also goes out the sides. There we go. So this isn't really the lightning effect, however, it is a nice look. So my idea is to simply cut. This is 5 millimeter, I think, and this is 4 millimeter, so there's some adjustments I'm going to need to do, which kind of sucks, but that's okay. And it's so close in size that it really doesn't matter. The 3 millimeter here is simply too thin, so I'm going up with this 5 millimeter. 5 millimeter fits in this bottom, fit in one of these bottoms. Here it is. And this is a 4 millimeter tube, and this is a 5 millimeter piece of side-firing fiber optics. So this does not fit into this base piece very well at all. So what I've done is to get a drill bit, and basically I've been scraping out the inside these tubes, which is not a super easy thing to do because of their size and the ability to hold them in place while you put a drill bit in there. I was thinking about recreating these pieces entirely, however you really don't need to go that far, I don't think. You certainly could if you want to. So now that that's thinned out and the wall is still sitting there relatively intact, this fits in quite well enough. However, the other trick is you can see there's this little knob on the bottom. That's for placement purposes, and what's going to have to happen is that entire area will need to be drilled out so an LED can go through the bottom. Potentially, you could put it also through the top. In this case, what I'm going to be doing is this piece is so small that I think hollowing it out going to be, yeah, this drill bit is actually bigger than this entire piece. What I'm going to do is get a little bit of styrene strip, I think, or even better, a styrene tube, cut it down nice and small like that and just use it as a sleeve. And what I need to do for this is have floor ready so that I can drill the hole in the bottom and make sure everything lines up. But this is going to be a really good solution and it's going to look really, really nice. Don't think I'm quite ready to pursue it much further right at this moment though, but I did want to show the idea off. So let's see, what's next? And here's my next idea. Sleeving these 4 tubes into each other. The biggest one is 11/32 or 0.014 inches. So this one is the next size down, followed by this one, and this one, which is actually slightly larger than the 5 millimeters. However, that's not a bad thing because the one that sleeves into this perfectly is exactly 5 millimeters around. Or maybe a dash less, because this will not fit inside of this. And while this fits tightly in here, it's pretty tight, this is just a hair loose. So my idea here is to replace this part. The width of the 11/32 is exactly the width of the piece. So what I'll do essentially is simply sleeve these pieces into each other and make single cuts and see how close I can get to being at this point. So again, for that part I'm going to need to have the floor ready. The freezer tubes are pretty much ready. I can certainly glue these down to the floor when that's ready. These walls here, got to retouch some paint, but those are ready. So I'd say the freezer walls and tubes are pretty much just about there. So let's move on to the next project.